Think about a time when you had to take a stand. Have you always decided to do what was right? We've all been presented with opportunities that may have been too good to be valid or morally questionable. But what sways our choices? Many factors can affect our daily decision making, such as our peers or community, how we want to be perceived from others, the outcome we hope to achieve, our emotional state, past experiences, or even our age. Last summer, while attending a course, I was tasked to develop a small group project to test a social psychological phenomenon. The professor put us in groups of 5, and after we made our quick introductions, we dove right into the study of the ideas of herd mentality and social triggers. Each day, I became more and more aware of our group's differing personalities and that we each played a distinct role in the group. Because I did not know them before this experience and we did not have a close friendship, I was afraid of what they would think of me if I spoke up. As our research progressed, I realized our facts and data points were off. On paper, our project appeared to be sound and well put together. We followed the instruction guidelines and met all the technical requirements of the project, but I knew we were cherry-picking facts to support our claim. At that point, I felt too overpowered by my group to voice my opinion. I now realize I should have cared less about their thoughts and more about honesty. This experience made me one of the subjects in my study. I was too scared to stand up against what I feared, backlash from my group mates. I decided the issue was not worth bringing up. Although this project was small, maybe meaningless to some, I held it at a high regard internally and ballooned it into a bigger problem in my mind. When faced with a challenge, sometimes lingering thoughts and hypothetical worries can become so overpowering that they lead us to do nothing. But by doing nothing and not speaking up, we are inherently letting the problem grow. My own negative subconscious thoughts and my insecurities immobilized me. What I had experienced was a clear example of herd mentality. I was conforming to the group's way of thinking instead of voicing my feelings and not giving them a chance. We could have fixed our mistake if I had told my peers what I thought. Perhaps someone else in the group was feeling what I was feeling, but maybe they were also afraid to say something. Maybe a lack of solid communication was the real issue, since no one in our group knew each other. We were all uncomfortable strangers who didn't understand where to declare our boundaries as peers. But why was I so uncomfortable to speak up? Well, it goes back to our decision-making abilities. Robert Sapolsky, a neuroscientist, author, and researcher, claims that no one possesses free will in decision-making. He explains that every decision we make, even the fundamental everyday decisions, are fueled by decisions that preceded it. For example, my decision to buy an umbrella was preceded by my decision to walk home in the rain and get wet before entering my home. In an interview with the Harvard Gazette, he explains how every decision can be traced back to how we were raised at a very young age. In this interview, Sapolsky discusses his book, Determined: A Science of Life Without Free Will, and walks the reader through his ideas. Sapolsky's goal is to show how little free will a person truly has. Our decision-making strategies are personal and based on prior knowledge of our surroundings. Additionally, many factors affect our decision-making, such as stress, which is proven to impair cognitive function, or social dynamics, which can alter impersonal factors in a decision. So, this begs the question, what happens with age? How does a teenager make decisions, and what about a person in mid-adolescence whose brain is less developed and has less lifelong experience? If you also have had less life experience, is a decision inherently good or bad? It would be fair to assume that a younger person is less likely to make good decisions. As we age and gain more experience, we should make smarter decisions. But why, then, are teenagers considered the most significant risk takers? The simple answer is brain development, but there is something more to that. Joe Magliano, a professor of psychology and director of the Center of Interdisciplinary Study of Language and Literacy at Northern Illinois University, with the help of Nina S. Mounts, director of the Collaborative on Early Adolescence at Northern Illinois University, released a study in June 15 that breaks down teen risk-taking and decision-making, and details some exciting findings. Magliano explains that new developments in brain research show adolescents are, in fact, just as good as adults in making decisions in risky behavior. Magliano believes that the answer lies in adolescent peer relationships. During puberty, there is an increased interest in peer relationships and susceptibility to peer pressure influence, which peaks around 14 years of age. Brain imaging studies show that more significant emotional rewards are stimulated in peer relationships rather than adult ones, which sways teens to focus on their relationships rather than their behavior when assessing risk. The right Venn ventrolateral prefrontal cortex, which helps people cope with negative interactions with peers by lowering emotions correlated with the stress. Yet, in adolescence, this part of the brain is used less. It is still developing, making it seem more dire when socially excluded to teens. This likely contributes to engaging in risky behaviors to prevent being excluded by their peers. The lateral prefrontal cortex, which also develops primarily in adolescence, assesses self-regulation. A study done on computerized driving, administered in early adolescence, late adolescence, and young adults, showed similar signs that all demographics would drive relatively safely when taking the test alone. However, once paired with a friend, early adolescents would experience riskier driving, and late adolescents would also act more dangerous, yet less so than early adolescents. Adding a friend did not influence adult drivers. An fMRI combined with the driving simulator observed that early adolescents were more likely to partake in risky driving once a friend watched them but did not necessarily partake with them. The fMRI showed adolescents, in contrast to adults, use the area of their brain more closely associated with reward while riskily driving rather than the part related to decision-making and self-regulation. With an increased focus on rewards from peer interactions and insufficient brain development to assist in self-regulation, everything culminates in the perfect catalyst for risky behavior and bad decision-making. Using Sapolsky's information, we commit the same mistakes, but after every time, we learn more and more about our decision-making. So why am I here giving this talk if studies show I should fall back into the same cycle? Well, our brains are built off past experiences and how we react to those experiences. After my big mistake, I believe I have expedited my self-reflection to be more aware of my mishap to not repeat my mistake. That raises the issue. Where do we draw the line when it comes to falling back into our past experiences or moving on? If Sapolsky's studies are correct, there needs to be a line of separation where you, as an individual, either consciously or not, moves on from your cycle of repeating bad decisions, especially in adolescence. Fitting in is a part of human nature, and circumstances hold a big part in our decision-making. But deep down, we, as the main subject of our study, are the sole factor in how and why we make decisions in the way that we do. So, think introspectively. Are you ready to move that line, whether pull it closer or push it farther? Although we are puppets in our past experiences and mistakes, what must we now do to seize the moment and regain control? Thank you.